All right, back with a brand new Cabral Concept. Today we're going to be talking about how to step off the scale, push it away, and use other ways to track your weight loss and body transformation, ones that might be healthier for your mind. So I've worked with so many clients over the years who just simply do not like to weigh themselves. And they don't necessarily have a healthy relationship with that scale, and I get it. I totally understand, especially when you can be doing all of the right things and not be seeing the movement you want on those numbers on the scale. So let's talk about other ways to measure that progress and still lose the weight. Still, if you were to step on the scale, you would see those numbers go down, but let's do it maybe in other healthier ways for the mind. So the first one is this. And I don't think that this is going to be the answer for most people, but I have 4 other ways coming up. So 5 total. First one, probably not the way if you're not into the scale, but you could do body measurements. And again, people don't necessarily like to do that either. However, the body measurements, most people don't have an idea in mind that they've come up with of what they want to be. So for example, let's say that you're currently 172 pounds and you're like, yeah, but my ideal weight is 136. Okay, so 136 you've decided is your ideal weight. So when you step on the scale and every day you're not 136, you feel like, oh, I'm overweight, I don't like where I am. Totally understand that. But you might not have an idea of how big your biceps should be, or what your waist circumference should be, or your hips, or your thighs, or your calves. Like let's just say your thighs came out to be a 32 at maybe it's the biggest width. You might not know if that's like good, bad, or whatever for yourself. Again, it's subjective, like for yourself. So that's why it can be helpful, because then every 4 to 6 weeks, you can simply do a bicep measurement, a chest measurement, a waist measurement, a hips measurement, and then maybe a thigh measurement. We used to do those in our studio. Well, for, of course, only people who wanted to do it. But then you can look at all the inches you've lost. Wow. I'm not looking at the scale right now because maybe I put on a little bit of muscle. Or maybe I lost some body fat, but the scale's not showing that, right? So what I can do is I can actually look at my measurements and be like, whoa, I lost overall 7 inches over my entire body. Amazing, right? So like that's another great way to do it. Or if you wanted to, you can actually just do body composition testing. Forget about the weight. Let's just look at, did your body fat go down from 32% to 26%? Again, amazing, right? Like, so we can do other ways of testing with real measuring tools without it being subjective at all. It's at least something to look into. Sometimes people will just simply do a photograph against a wall, same outfit, and they'll just say, do I look like I've lost weight or not? I probably don't think that that's the healthiest thing to do. It's them judging them again. So that one for me is pretty much always out the window, unless of course someone's really into the mindset of that body transformation. And then of course they want the before and after photos, which they love to be able to see and share. All right, so that's the first one. That's objective still. The scale is objective, right? It's not totally current and not totally, I should say, well-rounded, because it's not looking at body fat percentage. It is not looking at water retention. Maybe a woman's in the last week of her cycle and she's retaining a little water. Okay, well, like, let's not judge that as body fat or real weight gain. It's just she's holding some water retention. Maybe she's more estrogen dominant. Okay, we can fix that too. So these are all things that we look at. Let's go on to another way to measure though. Fitness and performance. This is one of my favorites because if you improve these for long enough, you're going to transform your body. There's just no doubt about it. So increases in strength. Are you lifting the same weight for more reps, or have you gone up in weight? Meaning in terms of lifting weight. That's great progress, right? Being able to run faster or, row faster, do the ski erg faster, anything like that. Those are all improvements. Improvements with overall endurance. If you were running let's say you could only run for 6 minutes straight and now you can do 12, big improvement, right? You've doubled it. You might say, well, it's only 12 minutes. Sure. But you've doubled the amount of time you can now run without stopping. So fantastic. And then another one is doing the same workouts with less soreness. Okay, your body is now becoming more adapted. Now you'll be able to say, okay, well, that's a good thing, but do I really want to adapt? Not when you're still trying to get more results, but it actually means now that you can take up your workouts to that next level. All right, the third one I want to share with you is the way that your clothes fit. Now, again, I know that it might be a little bit judgmental. I totally get it, but no matter what, you're going to know if your clothes are fitting differently. If you are trying to put on muscle, anybody who's tried to put on muscle before, and you put on a t-shirt and it's, a little bit more snug in your chest, shoulders, and arms, you might be like, oh, I'm making some progress here, right? Same with weight loss. If you put on those pants and it's looser for sure, they're hanging down, or the shirt and it's feeling much looser around your belly, you'll know. Again, like clothing fit is a real giveaway for whether you're transforming your body, regardless of the scale. Right? Honestly, regardless, like if the weight's the same on the scale, but your clothes fit better, and I'll put that in air quotes, for how you want them to, that's progress. Huge progress. Keep on going. Another one is the belt. The belt, well, we kind of went over it with the waist, but if you need to move down a belt notch, that's massive progress. You've lost at least an inch off your waist in most cases. All right. The next one, body composition testing. We talked about a little bit in the beginning. It's a little bit different than just doing like the measurements of your waist-hip ratio or your biceps, your waist, chest, etc. You can actually use skin fold calipers. You can use bioelectrical impedance where you're holding it or holding a device, or even just using the foot-based scale, or you can do a DEXA scan. And all of those, they're definitely judgmental, right? I talked about earlier going from 32% to 26%, but it doesn't feel the same for a lot of my clients because it's not that number that they're trying to shoot for that they judge themselves against. Okay, so think of it that way. That's a great way. Other health markers, I love looking at these. I work with my clients on improving overall resting heart rate while sleeping. I want it to be in the mid to lower 50s. That's my goal for my clients. I want to improve VO2 max. That's why we also do cardio-based sessions. We're doing aerobic, and then we're trying to do some anaerobic as well, some higher zone training, which I've talked about in other shows. We always want to make sure blood pressure is balanced and other health-based metrics like the Big 5 labs or blood work, etc. All right. The last one is this. This is an important one. And this really is. So you want to understand that you achieving your goal weight, but also you maintaining your weight is going to be part of your entire life's journey. Like maintaining health is not something that you achieve and then you let go of. When you achieve the health that you want, you now have a blueprint. And then if you want, you can say, okay, how many variables can I move? How far can I stray while still maintaining this health? So along with that, we want to say, how's my energy feel? How do I feel overall health-wise? Am I sleeping better since I started this weight loss journey? Has my mood improved? Do I feel more confident? These are all somewhat subjective, except for maybe the sleep and maybe joint pain or inflammation. But these are all real biometrics that you can track, some psychological, some physiological, that you can then see progress on as well. So if you're seeing progress across the board in overall health, in both mind and body, in mood, in energy, in your workouts, and maybe even some of the other measurements, to me, that's as good as, if not far better than ever weighing yourself. So hopefully today's show was helpful. All the show notes will be at stephencabral.com/3526. Always do feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.